Hi there, and today we're going to talk about limiting beliefs, what they are, and the role that they have in your life. Throughout our lives, we are responding to irrational thoughts and limiting beliefs. They help define our world and hold us back from being able to see the real world around us. We process every action and event through these filters. We also make our decisions based on the ideas that limit us from our desires. It is not our fault that we allow these thoughts and beliefs to run our lives. We have been learning these from the beginning moments of our lives, only to have them reinforced as we have aged and experienced life. Now, so many times you'll hear people talk about limiting beliefs, and you may still have the question as to what is actually a limiting belief. A limiting belief is any belief or thought that you have that limits you from being able to make changes or to be productive in your life. These are phrases like we've talked about in the past, like you aren't enough. You're not strong enough and you're not fast enough. Those are limiting beliefs. Those are just examples of some of the limiting beliefs. These are things that were told to you by other people. And for some reason, these are beliefs or things that were said to you that you have picked up and that you have carried with you throughout your life. It's interesting in the fact of the ones that you actually pick up. So many people can say so many things to you, and most of those you just let go. But the ones that you pick up really say a lot about how you think and feel. And most of the time, these things were said to you by somebody that you wanted some kind of approval from, or somebody that you really thought highly of. A lot of these phrases, they fall into the lines of like, you're a loser. You'll never amount to anything. You'll never succeed. You're too short, you're too fat, you're too tall. Here's a couple others. You're stupid. Um, you know, there's a whole list of these kinds of thoughts that you have picked up. And the deal with these is really, these are thoughts that get reinforced by you. Every thought that you end up having, every decision that you make, and every challenge that you face is run back through those thoughts that you are still holding on to. Every time you want to try to do something, that thought comes up and it's like, oh, well, I can't do that because, I don't know if I'm going to be able to succeed at it, or I'll just fail at this again. Or, you know what, that never works for me. All of those are limiting beliefs. And the only person they ever limit is you. It's funny in the way that those things work, because they never limit the person who told you that, who said that to you. They only limit you. And most of the time when they're saying those things, they're not actually talking to you so much as they really are talking to themselves. They are saying to you what their real fears are. But for some reason, it never really quite comes out that way or sounds that way. But that is the truth of the matter. So there are thoughts about what you should be and what you should have for yourself, and how you should feel about others, and how you should react towards those who challenge your beliefs. There are also negative thoughts that are unfounded attitudes, values, and opinions that don't line up with the real world. You know these things don't line up. You know that they are wrong. But because you have lived with them for so long, you just keep reinforcing those. You know you are enough, because that's where that challenge comes in. It's your thoughts are going against what that other thought is. And the deal with these is, most of the time, limiting beliefs are the first thoughts that kind of come up when you are challenged or presented with something. But the truth is that a lot of these thoughts, and there's a lot more of these than just these, because it can be any thought that is limiting you. A lot of these thoughts, they hide deeper in your conscious, deeper in the thoughts, farther back there. And so most of the time you're not even realizing that you're even having that thought that is limiting you. Now, we're going to talk a lot more in the future about freedom and what freedom means. But the only way to be able to achieve freedom is being able to understand the things that have been holding you back. And limiting thoughts is one of these. And you need to be able to start identifying the thoughts that's in your life that you have been using to hold yourself back. You need to be able to challenge that thought, and you need to be able to let it go. When that thought comes up, say the opposite of that thought. Say that I'm not going to let that thought anymore have any control or any more power over top of me, because there's no reason for this thought to still exist in my life. You are enough. You've always been enough. And so one phrase I like to use is I like to tell people, and I even say this to myself, you've got this. You know you do. You got it. Now let's go. So try to challenge these thoughts when you can identify them. Never put any kind of roadblocks in your way or allow anything to be able to stop you, especially somebody else's words. When they say, oh, you can't do this, well, can you? I bet you can. So try. And we've talked about failure in past episodes. Go back and watch that one if you haven't. But don't be afraid to fail. Fail is a growing and learning tool. There is nothing that is about limiting beliefs that is necessarily going to help you grow and learn until you can get them under control, until you can get rid of them in your life. They serve no purpose. And also, make sure that you aren't one of those people who says these kinds of phrases to others. Don't tell somebody else when they express a thought to you or a dream to you or a desire, oh, well, you can't do that. If you don't have anything better to say, then don't say anything. But my opinion and what I think you should do is try to find something positive to say. Encourage that person, even if you're not really that sure about it. Try to help that person, reinforce that person. That reinforcement of that person only comes back to help you out. Don't ever be a perpetrator of giving somebody else a limiting thought. Now, you've done it. I've done it. There are things I've said to people over the course of my life that, were limiting to others. I don't do that anymore. I will always find a positive. And that's what I challenge you to do, is always find a positive. Find something good to say. Find some way to be able to help an individual and not limit them. So irrational thoughts like I must be loved, others must treat me well, and statements that contain the phrases I can't, I am not, others are more capable, and others have it better, are all perceptions that have placed unrealistic goals and standards on us. These are just a few of the examples of limiting and irrational thoughts. We all suffer from these thoughts from time to time. They creep their way into how we perceive ourselves, but these aren't the way the world really is. They aren't the way your life really is. So be able to understand that and be able to let them go. Keep in mind, you've got this. You are enough. You've always been enough. And you got it. I know you do. They are just the views that have been formed by past experiences, education, faulty logic, excuses, and fear. And see, right there we come back into these things again. These limiting thoughts that you are holding on to, a lot of times the reason why you are still holding on to these and why they still play a role in your life, it all goes back to that root system. It all goes back to that. It goes back to fear. You keep those in play because you're afraid. You're afraid, what if they're wrong? What if they're right? Stop and think about that. What if you're right? and they are wrong. That would mean that you would actually be success. And success is one of those things we talked about that most people are afraid of. They're afraid of actually being able to get what it is that they truly desire and what they really want. And so they keep themselves down, they keep themselves trapped. And this comes into excuses. You use those things as an excuse. When someone says, oh, well, you could do that, and you follow it up with something like, well, I don't know, others have it better. Others have had a better life than me. You don't understand. See all of that? That's a limiting belief. That's you reinforcing that limited belief. And it always comes right back down into that fear. And these are things that you need to let go of. You cannot be the captain of your ship and be a good captain with limiting beliefs. There's just no way. And you're never going to reach freedom as long as these things keep having roles in your life. But to understand excuses, understand fear, understand those are probably the reasons why you keep holding on to these things. And this is what you need to challenge. This is the shifts that you need to make. You need to be able to let this stuff go. Because as I keep saying it, I'm going to keep saying this to you over and over again, because I want you to truly understand this, and I need you to believe this. You are enough, and you've got this. So, this is my homework for you. I want you to start writing down every limiting belief that you have. And I want you to also think about and journal as to why it is that you are still allowing this to have any kind of role in your life. And if you can, remember who it is who said this to you. Because if it was hurtful enough, you remember it. Pain has a way of always tying into that memory. And so think about those thoughts and start working on that list that you will now create, and start challenging those. And just start with a couple. I mean, as you go through this, you're going to start finding that there's more than you probably realized. But that's your homework for the next time. Start writing down those limiting beliefs that you're holding on to. And I want you then to say back to them, and I want you to say this to yourself: you've got this, and you are enough. And so until next time, take care.